In the year 2035, humanity achieved what was once considered impossible: the ability to transfer human consciousness from one body to another. Initially developed for terminal patients, the technology quickly expanded into medical applications, eventually leading to legal implications nobody had anticipated. That is where my story begins. My name is Sean. I am now 33 years old, an orphan who grew up in the system, bouncing between foster homes until I was old enough to be on my own. Life had always been a struggle, especially financially, but I had one dream that kept me going: to travel the world. The thought of exploring distant mountains, diving into crystal clear waters, and walking through ancient cities filled my every decision. I put myself through university, earning a degree in photography. I thought this would be my ticket to see the world, but reality hit hard. Without connections or extraordinary talent, all I could secure was a job at a local photo studio, taking passport photos and occasional family portraits. Still, I saved every cent I could, holding on to my dream. Then came the night that changed everything. I was walking home from work, a late shift on a Friday evening. The traffic light turned green for pedestrians, and I stepped on the crosswalk. I heard the engine before I saw the car, the screech of tires against asphalt, and then impact. The world spun. There was searing pain and then darkness. I woke up in a hospital room 3 days later. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead as a doctor stood at the foot of my bed with a clipboard, his expression grim. "Mr. Sean, I am afraid I have difficult news," he said. "The impact fractured your spine in several places. You're paralyzed from the waist down." The words hit like another car crash. Paralyzed? No more walking? No more hiking through forests or climbing mountains? No more traveling, at least not the way I dreamed. My entire future disappeared in that instant. The police came by later, informing me they had identified the driver, a young woman named Gwen, aged 18, from a wealthy family. She had been speeding while texting. Criminal charges were being filed, and my hospital social worker connected me with a lawyer named Sandra to pursue a civil case. The next few weeks were a blur of medical treatments, physical therapy sessions where I learned to use a wheelchair, and meetings with Sandra. The lawsuit was straightforward, she explained during one of our meetings. Gwen was clearly at fault, her family had money, and my injuries were severe, but no amount of money would give me back my legs, she said. "They'll offer a settlement," Sandra explained during one of our meetings. "Probably substantial, but it won't change what happened to you." I nodded, staring down at my useless legs. No amount of money will let me walk again. Over the next months, I adjusted to my new reality. My tiny apartment was retrofitted to accommodate a wheelchair. I returned to the photo studio, now taking pictures from a seated position. I watched travel documentaries and felt a hollow ache where my dreams used to be. Then, almost a year after my accident, Sandra called with news that would alter my path once again. "Have you heard about the new legislation?" she asked, her voice unusually animated. "It's called the Neural Transfer Justice Act, but everyone is calling it the Sean Collins Act because your case inspired it." What? I was confused. I had been so focused on surviving day to day that I had paid little attention to the news. "It's revolutionary," she continued. "With the new consciousness transfer technology, victims of severe crimes resulting in permanent physical disability can request to switch bodies with the perpetrator as part of their compensation, pending court approval." Switch bodies? The concept seemed absurd. "Yes, you would essentially take over the body of the person who caused your disability, and they would live in your disabled body until medical science advances enough to repair your original body. Then you'd switch back." I laughed, a short, bitter sound. "So I could have Gwen's body and she'd have mine? Be paralyzed like me?" "Exactly, plus monetary compensation from her family." Sandra paused. "It's just an option, Sean, but if you're interested, we should add it to our demands." I hesitated. The idea of becoming a woman was unsettling. I'd lose my identity, my very self in some ways. But then I looked down at my wheelchair, thought of my fading dreams, and made a decision I never imagined I would make. Add it to the lawsuit, I said. Gwen's family fought the case with everything they had. They hired expensive lawyers, filed motions to dismiss, and used every delay tactic possible. The case dragged on for 4 long years. By then, I was 32, Gwen was 22, and the legal precedent for body swapping as criminal restitution had been firmly established in several other high-profile cases. Finally, the judge ruled in my favor. Gwen was given a choice: serve prison time for criminal negligence, or undergo the body swap procedure along with her family paying substantial monetary damages. Faced with those options, she chose the swap. The day of the procedure arrived. I was wheeled into the facility, a sterile, high-tech building with the latest neural transfer equipment. The technicians explained the process, though I barely listened. Part of me still couldn't believe this was happening. I was helped onto the transfer pod, my clothes removed as required by the procedure. The last thing I remember before sedation was staring at the gleaming white ceiling, wondering who I would be when I woke up. I regained consciousness slowly, awareness creeping in around the edges. The first thing I noticed was feeling, sensation in my legs, my toes. I could feel the smooth surface beneath them. I flexed experimentally and nearly cried when they responded. After 4 years of numbness, the simple ability to feel and move my lower limbs was overwhelming. But as my mind cleared, I became aware of other differences. Weight on my chest, hair tickling my shoulders. I raised a hand to brush it away and froze at the sight of slender fingers, so unlike my own calloused hands. I sat up carefully, adjusting to a new center of gravity. The room was different from the one I'd been in for the procedure. This must be where Gwen had been. A folded stack of clothing sat on a chair nearby, the outfit she had worn to the facility. But first, I needed to see what I had become. I slid my legs, her legs, off the bed, gasping at the sensation of feet touching cool floor. Standing was strange, my balance completely different with the new weight distribution. I took a few experimental steps, marveling at the sway of hips I now possessed, the bounce of breasts on my chest. It was disorienting, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. Across the room stood a mirror. I approached it cautiously, almost afraid of what I would see. The reflection showed a young woman with long brown hair, delicate features, and a figure that would be considered conventionally attractive. I was now in the body of the woman who had destroyed my life, while she was trapped in my paralyzed one. Curious and slightly hesitant, I explored this new form. I ran hands over unfamiliar contours, discovering sensations I have never experienced before. The skin was softer than mine had been, the body smaller but seemingly fit. I touched the flat stomach, the flare of hips, the roundness of breasts. When my fingers brushed against the points at case, I gasped at their sensitivity. The reality of what lay down under was another shock entirely. The complete absence of what I had known my entire life, replaced by something alien to my experience. It was surreal to look down and see this stranger's body responding to my commands. Eventually, I turned to the clothing. Figuring out how to dress this new body was a challenge. The bra was particularly confusing, with hooks and straps that seemed designed to frustrate. When I finally managed to secure it, the sensation of fabric against my new exhibits felt strange, constrictive yet supportive. The silk blouse in the pile slid cool against my skin, buttoning differently than I was used to. Jeans required wiggling to pull up over curvier hips than I'd possessed before. Every movement emphasized how different this body was from my original one. Once dressed, I met with administrators who had me sign papers finalizing the transfer. According to the documents, I would now be legally known as Joan, a name I had chosen weeks before, though it felt more real now that I was inhabiting this female body. I also received confirmation that a substantial sum had been transferred to my renamed bank account, part of the compensation package along with the body swap. Following the procedure, I arranged to meet Sandra at a cafe to discuss final legal matters. When I walked in, using legs I could feel and control for the first time in years, she did a double take. "This is bizarre," she said when I sat across from her. "You're my client, but you look like the defendant." I laughed, the sound higher and softer than my old laugh. Imagine how it feels from my perspective. After finalizing our business, I thanked Sandra for everything and kept her on retainer for any future legal needs that might arise from my unusual situation. With money in the bank and a fully functioning body, I wasted no time pursuing my long-postponed dreams. Within weeks, I was hiking mountain trails, feeling muscles burn in a way I feared I would never experience again. I camped under stars, sitting beside a small tent in denim shorts and a tan knit top, marveling at the simple joy of being able to kneel on grass. I visited beaches I had only seen in photographs, feeling sand between my toes and ocean waves lapping at my legs. The sensation of water against skin that could actually feel it brought me to tears the first time. Months passed, and gradually I adjusted to life as Joan. The initial awkwardness of inhabiting a female body gave way to appreciation and eventually comfort. I learned to manage monthly cycles, developed a skincare routine, and adapted to the different way people treated me. I had been worried about intimacy in this new body, but I discovered new depths of sensation I hadn't known were possible. Now, a year into my new life, I stand on a beach watching the sunset, wearing a cream-colored crop top with delicate embroidery and denim shorts. My long hair blows in the ocean breeze, and I feel completely alive in this body that once belonged to someone else. Sometimes I think about Gwen, living in my paralyzed body, waiting for the day medical science advances enough to repair spinal injuries. I wonder if she regrets her careless actions that night 4 years ago. As for me, I have a confession I've never spoken aloud. I've been following the medical research on spinal regeneration, and secretly, I find myself hoping it takes a very, very long time to develop. Because the truth is, I'm not sure I ever want to go back to being Sean again.